All right. So let's see. What is this? Is it true you started out in stand-up comedy? Oh, sort of. I actually feel like I started out doing a speech that we had to do to get our diploma for our high school. That was the first time I really had to perform. And so I did that and hated it. Hated doing it. You know, I was a pretty shy kid, so that took just about everything I had to do that. And they liked it, so they said, "Oh, you're going to represent the school in public speaking," which was just a torture. But I didn't have much of a spine, so I did it. And I guess that's where it all started out. The stand-up, it was more improvised comedy than it was stand-up. I'd host and things, but I was never really a stand-up, or never considered myself a stand-up, even though I had 10 minutes or so that I could do. Where did my passion for acting begin? I don't know. It sounds ordinary, but I always loved television. I always loved that, and I loved it when I'd watch something and someone would get the timing right. I think that's why I liked Family Ties so much, because Michael J. Fox had such good timing, And Ted Danson and Cheers had the timing was so good. I used to love that. So maybe my passion started when I started seeing all the stuff when the timing wasn't good. You'd watch some terrible sitcom and it would just irritate me to no end as a kid. Couldn't watch it. So I don't know. Maybe I was always passionate about it, but I guess somewhere in there. Is it true that I'm bilingual? Not really. I speak French, but I wouldn't call myself bilingual. If so, how much of a benefit is it in your acting? Having exposure, being able to be broader as a person benefits you in everything that you do. So I would say it benefits me the way it benefits anybody. It just makes your scope bigger. You can bring to your characters more varied and deep, and but I obviously pronounce things properly when they're written in French, so that's a plus. But sort of the way it does in life, I would think. What defines acting for me? What defines it? I don't know. I genuinely don't. I don't know what defines it for me. Maybe that's how. Maybe I don't define it. Maybe it's storytelling, and either I'm storytelling through the character I'm playing, or I'm storytelling through the script I'm directing or script I'm writing. It's about storytelling for me. So I guess any definition would be a little bit limited. How did you break into the acting scene professionally? I was friends with the secretary of an agent, and I would hang out 3 days a week in her office, the agent's office, and eventually she got accustomed to me. She said, "All right, fine, I'll side pocket you," which basically means I'm not taking you on, but I'll submit you every now and then. And that's sort of how I got started. And I went in for a movie in Canada, in Montreal, that they were just trying to flesh out the rest of the roles. And I went in, and he said, "Oh, would you mind reading for the lead?" And I did, and I got it. Sort of the fairy tale. I was coming in for some tertiary character, and it ended up going my way. So that's a good sign. What makes the perfect performance for me? I don't know. I guess the perfect performance for me is when I do what I intend to do, and it works the way that I intend it to work. That would be perfect. Because sometimes I do exactly what I intend to do, and it doesn't work, or it doesn't communicate what I want to communicate. That's not perfect. Or vice versa. I don't do what I mean to do, but it ends up doing it. So the perfect performance is when I get to conceive of it, execute it, and then watch it, and it does what I hoped it would. You appear in many shows as a guest star. What do you take away from those experiences? How do you apply them when you became Jack in Eureka? I did Becker with Ted Danson. I remember this. And he was so approachable, and he would come over all the time and say, "Hey, do you want to run lines?" Not with me, but with all of us. And for someone of his stature, who clearly doesn't need to run lines, and to be as available and team oriented as he was, he drove a normal car and he was a normal guy. I really saw the version of a lead actor that I would be in that. And seeing how well he did it, I had a mold to mimic. So doing guest experiences, it really does help you decide what you're going to do should you succeed. you know. And the other thing too, you work with some nightmarish people when you do guest stars, and you sort of say to yourself, okay, I'm never going to be that guy or that girl. So it's interesting. And also you learn how to be cattle. Sometimes as a guest star, you're cattle, and that's okay. That's your job. Though I would not treat people like cattle. It's got to know your place. And I was comfortable in that role when I did it. I seem to bring a sense of fun. No, I do bring a sense of fun, no matter what role you play. But when you have to be serious, the job gets done. What do you look for in a script for accepting a role? I look for something that I'm interested in a script, something that I want to do, something that piques my curiosity. That's what I look for. As simple as that. I've had agents and managers tell me not to do stuff, and I did it and loved it. So really, it's a personal thing, and it's intangible. You can't really express it, but you know when you read it, and you know when it's not there when you're reading it. As for many, your breakthrough role was Ferguson in Coupling. Patrick Maitland is what I played. Did you see it like that? Yeah, I did. I absolutely did. That was a monstrous success for me. I actually did the pilot with a bunch of actors, and then they fired a bunch of actors, the pilot for Coupling. And then I had to re-audition for my role and get my role back after we shot the pilot to do the series, which I did. And I guess the most telling thing is when that got canceled, wildly prematurely. It was in the dawn of sort of the cable takeover, and the numbers they were expecting on shows were absolutely ridiculous. So they were canceling shows that the next year would have stayed on the air. Yeah, I did see it. So when it got canceled, people said, "Oh, are you upset?" And I was candid at the time, and I said, "Absolutely not. I mean, this thing put me on the map. I'm nothing but grateful." So that was, I just saw that as a wonderful experience. Given how good that show was it a disappointment when it was canceled? Already answered it. I'm ahead of you. How deflating it is when your show is canceled, or is it accepted as just part of an actor's life? It depends. It depends on what you wanted out of that experience. I don't take anything as given. I don't take anything as this is going to be a monstrous success. I think I'd probably be more disappointed now than I was then. At the time, I was so grateful for anything that came my way. I was so appreciative that getting to do 2 episodes of something was crazy for my brain. 2 episodes on television. Who would have thought that would have happened? But now, I really want to have a life with a show. I really want to see where it goes because I've seen where a show goes. So now, I'd probably be more down now, depending on the show. If it's a show that's going to be, because nothing's free, right? Like these shows, 16 hours a day, 8 months a year. When that doesn't go, you sort of go, that's okay. That was going to be a lot of work. That's okay. That's fine. But if it's sort of some cush job on some amazing show, then yeah, that's a bit sad, I guess. You saw your role as Jack, produce, direct. Was that something you had done previously and wanted to get back to? Yeah, I that's sort of who I am. My mind works that way. And I think they saw that on the show, and they encouraged it and fostered it, and it was great for me. I really appreciated it. And so, yeah, I guess so. How important is it for an actor to be multi-talented? It's important to just do what you do. I mean, I'm not a singer-dancer guy, so the fact that I'm a producer-director guy is like, if that's my hyphenate, then that's my hyphenate. It's always good to be able to do more than one thing because the net's wider that you're casting off to catch your fish with. So, great metaphor that is. But yeah, so it is. It's not important, but it's sure as helpful. Let's touch upon your X-Files role in Kitsunagari. I never did an X-Files. Had some disturbing murder scenes. I ever see the show X-Files? I don't know what that is. I never did X-Files. How did you land the role of Jack? Was it a long audition process? I auditioned for it with Jamie, the executive producer creator of the show, was in the room. And I do what I do, which is I go in and I try to put as much humor into it as I can without disturbing the drama. And most people don't want it. So yeah, I'm used to a certain level of like, great, thanks very much. That was interesting. As they send you back to your car. But I did it for Eureka, and that's exactly what Jamie wanted. So it was a good moment. I just assumed it was going to go to someone else. I just assumed that some bigger name was going to take it because it was a great role. But that was in January, and they said, yeah, we're going to come back to you, and they didn't. And luckily, I hadn't gotten anything by, I think, April, or maybe it was March, I don't know. And they said, okay, we're testing now, and I got it then. It was a process. It was a back and forth, and then after I tested, then they wanted some tape, then they wanted more tape, and then they wanted me to go back on tape, and so it was a process. But that's okay. I'm up for that. You told us in Dublin you had some accidents. Do bloopers make the filming process much more fun? Yeah, they do. Well, anytime everybody can laugh, it's a good thing. What was the thing you're most proud of in Eureka? Doing about 80 episodes. I forget how many ultimately it was, but that's what I'm most proud of. Keeping a show on the air for 6 years it's hard to do. It involves politics and audience, reaching out and being a part of a community, and it's a lot of different skills by a lot of different people, and I'm really proud of us that we kept that show going and made it what it was, and made it better every year. Every year the show got better. The 5th season was the best season for me, or maybe I just think that the most recent is better. But I'm most proud of the longevity of Eureka. That's something that I'll take with me for the rest of my life. It was a show that was threatened with cancellation time and time again. Not really. I don't think so. What was it about the fans what was it that fans loved, do you think? I don't think it was necessarily threatened with cancellation. I mean, we were always one of their top shows, if not the top show at the time. So it was never really threatened with cancellation, I don't think. I mean, that carrot of cancellation is always, dangled because no one wants to make a decision. No one wants to give you a sort of like, well, we haven't decided yet, but it's picked up. They don't like to do that. So what was it about that the fans loved? I think they loved the town, and they loved the community, and they loved the relationships, and it was a good place to live, even though people get killed all the time, which is not a great place to live. But people cared about each other, and it was about the greater good, and it was sweet and good. And I think when you look on television, there isn't a lot of good out there, and I'm proud of that. So you can chalk that up to the I'm proud of thing. How was the role of Jack impacted on your life? Did he open up doors for you that never expected? It definitely gave me a recognizability that I never had before. As for what doors it's opened up, I don't really know. It gave me a security, and I don't have to run to my next job or take what comes along. I can sort of have a life for a little bit and be picky, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. It might sound terrible, but it for to be able to do what you want to do, and for it to give you security as well as satisfaction in doing what you do is just so rare in this lifetime. So it's impacted my life hugely. I got to live my dream of being on a TV show. So sort of the impact it made is I got to live my dream. That's insane for a brain to comprehend, for mine anyway. One thing that Eureka's done is allowed you to meet fans across the world. Did you know what to expect from your first convention? No, I didn't. I didn't know if anyone, I didn't want to be the ugly girl at a kissing booth, right? Like I didn't know what to expect. I wasn't sure if people were going to, say, your show sucks or whatever. So to get the reception that we got from various conventions where, people are lined up 200 people deep and, 7,000 people at a panel, lining up from 7 a.m. to be there. That sort of love is, when you're absolutely exhausted after 8 months of work and you see something like that, it fills you with energy to go back and do it right and do it better. You know, you can't go back to the set and phone it in after that. You sort of go, right, there are people who care and they're paying attention, so let's do this right. And that's what I got from my first convention. How has your perception of fandom changed having met them? I didn't really have a preconception, although I heard the horror stories of, oh, it's crazy. And I have not experienced that. I think maybe the fan world is much more educated now than it was 15 years ago, but the fans are respectful and kind and so generous. You know, coming up and we're chatting and say, oh, I bought you some chocolate, you know, because I heard you like chocolate, which I do, or beer or whatever. Just the fact that they would want to share something that they purchased is really nice. It's unexpected. It's unnecessary, and it's amazing. Is it a humbling experience for an actor to see how many? Yes, it is. It's incredibly humbling to hear, you know, husbands and wives say, "Oh, I was stationed in Iraq, and you know, Eureka was one of the DVDs that we had or were allowed, and we want to thank you because it was something that we could talk about every week, and it was something that we could have in common. We would both watch a show, you know. So thank you for helping us keep our relationship going." I mean, or like, you know, some guy who's rehabbing from an injury in Iraq, and he said, "I watched the whole series, and it really kept me going." That sort of stuff. I mean, to be a part of someone's life in that way is mind-boggling and humbling, and yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. It's been a good life, I gotta say. You recently met your Irish fans for the first time in Dublin. Do events like this make you realize that big Eureka, how big Eureka really was? Yeah, it does, and the longevity of it. I mean, it's been off the air for a couple of years, and the fact that people care. And I love actually the whole families come over. It means the world to me. They go, hey, we watch it as a family. You know, that sort of stuff is amazing to hear as an actor, that you're responsible for, not responsible, no, that's a terrible word, but that you're involved in something that a family can do together is wonderful. You had the same experience as myself traveling from Belfast and got lost. Apart from that, how did you find your time in our country? Amazing. Loved it. Too short. I was there for a week. It was nothing. It's not a big country, but it's an incredibly deep country because everyone's so available and so kind, and sort of, you know, that expression, you know, Irish eyes are smiling. That's no joke. Irish eyes are smiling. That's right on the money. I'd love to spend more time there. Was there anything you would have liked Jack to have done but never got the chance? Lots of things. Grow old. Lots of things. Always more to do. What advice would you give to any budding actors out there? Be realistic. Pay attention. If you can do anything else, do it. If you can't do anything else, lock and load. You're in for the long haul. It's up, it's down. But be aware. Be aware and don't be self-indulgent. Because worst case scenario, you'll be a better person at the end of it. And you couldn't ask for more than that. And of course, being a better person is going to make your work better. It just will. So be aware and don't be too self-indulgent. What advice would you give? Oh no, that's what am I currently working on? Whoa, raising a 6-month-old boy. Holy smokes, hardest job ever. I took the year off to raise my son, and so I'll start looking at stuff in, I guess, September. So nothing right now. What would Jack be doing now, do you think? His brow would be furrowed. He would be vaguely irritated and trying to figure out how to stop something without getting hurt. That would be what he would be doing right now. Have you a message for your Irish fans? Just a humble thank you. It was a wonderful time, and you guys were great. So thanks very much.